Okay, we're going to talk about autonomics of the respiratory system and answer the questions. What roles do sympathetics and parasympathetics play? What receptors control airway diameter? And what changes occur during clinical conditions? Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Morton, and I'm the noted anatomist. How does our body give us more air when we need it and less when we don't? The answer, by adjusting airway diameter. Sympathetics cause bronchodilation, parasympathetics, bronchoconstriction. Let's do all that again with some pictures, words, and stuff. I'm going to use this illustration to demonstrate sympathetics and parasympathetics. That's the medulla oblongata of the brainstem. And then here is segmental sections of the spinal cord, T1 to T5 levels. Here is the sympathetic trunk, and there's one sympathetic ganglion. The aortic arch with the plexus of autonomics, and then there's the trachea with the primary, secondary, tertiary bronchi, and then all those airways down to the alveoli. For sympathetics, they're going to cause bronchodilation, increasing diameter of the airways, which reduces resistance. As with all sympathetic pathways that arise between T1 and L2, for thoracic viscera, like lungs and the heart, those pathways arise from T1 to T4 or T5. The arrow is pointing to that little red circle. That is the cell body of a preganglionic sympathetic neuron that is arising in the lateral horn gray matter. Its axon comes out the ventral root to the spinal nerve trunk, the ventral ramus and then the white ramus communicans, to synapse in the associated level of a sympathetic ganglion. And that arrow is pointing to another little circle. That's the cell body of a postganglionic sympathetic neuronal cell body. Some sympathetics come right off of that associated sympathetic ganglion, but some preganglionic sympathetics ascend up to a cervical sympathetic ganglion, and that's where the synapse with the postganglionic sympathetic neuron occurs. Regardless, all postganglionic sympathetic neurons course in the cardiopulmonary splanchnic nerves. That gets its name because these sympathetic pathways go to both the heart and the lungs. And the cardiopulmonary splanchnic nerves then will go to the airways, trachea and large airways and down to the small airways. And when it releases norepinephrine, will cause bronchodilation. Okay, and norepinephrine is the neurotransmitter that sympathetic neuronal pathways release. I made that distinction because, that smooth muscle is lined by beta-2 adrenergic receptors. That's going to become important here in a second. Well, right now. So that smooth muscle lining all of our airways, it binds a catecholamine. And beta-2 adrenergic receptor is that flavor of adrenergic receptor. The adrenal medulla, with its chromaffin cells, produces the primary catecholamine epinephrine that enters the bloodstream. And then when that epinephrine comes and releases from the bloodstream and binds to that beta-2 receptor, that's what causes the bronchodilation. So an anatomy note is anatomy books state that direct sympathetic innervation of airways via norepinephrine cause bronchodilation. Like anatomy textbooks say it, my anatomy big picture textbook says it, and I just said it a few seconds ago in this video. But come to find out, that's not necessarily really true because norepinephrine has very little effect on beta-2 adrenergic receptors. It's the circulating epinephrine from the adrenal medulla that has a much greater effect. I mention it because every book puts it, but to be honest, it doesn't really do much. It's the epinephrine from the adrenal medulla that causes bronchodilation. So a little clinical correlate, asthma is a condition where the airways become inflamed, they swell, and thus they narrow, they produce extra mucus, and it makes it difficult to breathe. There's also bronchospasms where the smooth muscle constricts, and so it makes the airways that should be big like as an analogy, it's not really this big like a toilet paper roll, but then in an asthma attack, it can become like a straw, and in really bad attacks, it can collapse completely. And so it looks like that. Basically swelling of the tissue, bronchospasms of the smooth muscle, extra mucus is shown in yellow, all narrow that airway. So a treatment is a SABA, short-acting beta-2 agonist, and it helps the airways get wider and easier to breathe. So SABAs, like albuterol, is often used through like an inhaler, and so that beta-2 agonist, that's what the plus means, will then bind to the beta-2 and cause that dilation, like that. So stimulation by beta-2 agonists, a SABA, causes bronchodilation. Now, albuterol is a beta-2 adrenergic receptor agonist, and it helps patients with the bronchospasms associated with asthma. However, a side effect for some patients have when taking it is tachycardia. Why and how? So here's albuterol that shows the number 1. It's inside the pulmonary capillary, and then the pulmonary vein transports albuterol to the left side of the heart, left atrium down to the left ventricle, and then the albuterol is going to go through that aortic valve and enter the ascending aorta. That albuterol, some of it is going to go down the right coronary artery, the sinoatrial artery, and then hit the SA node. And so an albuterol, which again a beta-2 agonist, I put epinephrine, though because it simulates the epinephrine's effect on the beta-2, but it can also influence beta-1. And the SA node is a pacemaker cell. It has automaticity. It's always pacing. But if you then take an agonist that binds, you can then increase its automaticity, which increases heart rate, and that can increase cardiac output as well. And that's why some patients on a beta-2 agonist may experience tachycardia. Now, how do I remember what beta-1 versus beta-2? Well, you have 1 heart, beta-1, 2 lungs, beta-2. Now, what about parasympathetics? They're going to cause bronchoconstriction and increase of glandular secretions like mucus. So the reason why nature has this is defense against irritants and reduces exposure to irritants and things that are problematic like cigarette smoke. So it's a part of an overall reflex that if we inhale an irritant that could go down and injure our alveoli, this causes bronchoconstriction, increases glandular secretion to reduce exposure to it. All parasympathetics for a respiratory system arise in the medulla oblongata. That little purple circle that the purple arrow is pointing to is the cell body of a preganglionic parasympathetic neuron. That's in the dorsal vagal nucleus, because the vagus nerve, cranial nerve 10, is what's transporting or conducting this action potential down to the airways. And it's going to synapse with the postganglionic parasympathetic neuron in the wall of the trachea and airways. And then that postganglionic neuron releases acetylcholine, which binds to an M3, muscarinic 3 cholinergic receptor, and then cause bronchoconstriction and also increase glandular secretion. And that, my friends, is autonomics of the respiratory system in a nutshell.